couple of weeks, we have seen nerfs to Ashe. We have also seen that they definitely make the pick a little bit weaker, but they're not enough to push her out of the meta, and I would be shocked if she doesn't remain in high priority. The Annie, yeah, not really going to see play, I assume, today. Jace, very strong in the hands of T1, most notably for Zeus, but is always a possible flex pick. And yep, the Ashe still not going to grace the Rift, as we are already looking at a Lucian first pick here. If T1 don't pick it away, or ban it away rather.
Might just be the way. They do have some flexibility in this ban, but Elise still kind of seeing a lot of bans. As Lucian will in fact be the first ban here, so kind of leaves you with Zyra Khan, Aphelios Thresh, stuff like that. We did see Kai'Sa also played yesterday, so could be a choice for either of these teams.
Is it a Lee angle? That is what I'm wondering.
I think it is.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. It denies it to Oner. Canyon obviously is an incredible Lee, and
insane, both of them.
Yeah, yeah, they're both like
probably the two best Lee Sin players I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's not a very controversial statement.
Yeah,
is it, VODS?
No,
I wholeheartedly agree. And there it is.
First pick, Kennen.
Yes.
First pick.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. Give it to us.
So I feel obliged to say that I expect this to be top lane Kennen for what is known to be one of our best Kennen players, arguably the best. He's not arguably the best top laner, he is the best top laner, but we've seen actually, even from Kana himself, some great Kennen games. But there is a number of different builds, which we'll get into later. We actually have seen some variety there, and depending on what D+ go for, we could see some variation there. Jinx got buffed on this patch. You have the best Fresh in the LCK on your team. Might as well.
Maybe Renata Glask here, though.
Oh, yeah, could also be the case.
This is a very nice angle for it. We've seen it picked into this duo multiple times, like so many times. So I think that's really the consideration here. Obviously, Thresh is fine, and it is Keria.
Maybe it's just Kennen support. That's actually...
Yeah, sure.
That's the angle.
That's why they picked it so early.
Yeah, it's a flex pick.
There's Thresh.
And I wouldn't have minded the Rakan, but in the hands of Keria, the...
Rakan.
Sorry, a Renata into the Rakan. But the Thresh in the hands of Keria is always a complete treat, and we have seen them, most notably last spring, go undefeated, utilizing this combo or Aphelios in every single game. So going back to comfort there for T1. The main issue that we've seen with the Zyra Rakan lanes have been getting pushed in early on, having to deal with very aggressive lanes, but with the amount of bans that we've seen towards the AD carry role, I do think that's a very safe pickup here for D+. Does mean that right now they will be lacking a decent amount of frontline, and if they do want to go for some consistency, could look for that in Kana in the top half of the map. As the Wukong gonna get banned away, I would expect to see in general a kind of a pinching of the jungle pool here. Can maybe also go for the Sedge, although Sejuani setup not looking too hot right now with what is already available for T1, but still does remain a very strong jungler here on this patch.
Yeah, decent amount of strong junglers still available. Let's see what they want to take away. The Viego is going to be the selection. Definitely a lot of potential for the Viego to pop off in fights if you do get ahead and get some of those resets, as smile on Oner's face generally means something a bit interesting. Xinjiao makes his way back onto the Rift. T1 not wasting any time with the interesting drafting.
Have not seen Xin in a while. There was a time during preseason where he did climb up a little bit because of how strong Ravenous Hydra was at the time, but has not been a mainstay of pro play, of course. We did see him a ton in the meta last year as well, and is one of the few picks that can actually stand up to Lee in early duels. As the Veigar are going to get picked up here, and the Veigar I think is a pick that is incredibly strong. I do think that you might run into trouble with most notably the Jinx. Late game Veigar does really rely on picks like the Xin, picks like the Cannon that are fairly short range, as we are looking for something into the Cannon here. Cassante is a matchup that you're not going to be excited about.
In theory, could be flexed to Faker.
That is true.
You never know.
Yeah, well, with T1,
team.
I wouldn't even be surprised if it ends up coming to fruition here.
All right. Well, you have a chance to counterpick for either lane. Obviously, the Kennen is almost definitely going top. So let's see what Faker is going to select here into the Veigar. He could also play Shinjao if he really wants to. But probably not very good into mid Veigar. As Ahri, a mainstay here for Faker, especially last year. He is going to be bringing it out once again.
Ahri, Zinzao, obviously very straightforward, 2v2, really strong, can set up for one another very, very well. I do think that the Ahri might struggle when we get to the later stage of the game. I think that, again, barring the Jinx, Showmaker is in a pretty good position here. D+ composition with the added front line of the Cassante and the amount of mobility that they have, I do think, particularly if they can snowball, do have a great shot at pressuring T1. But when I look at the amount of late game power just with that Jinx and the amount of zone control there is, like Zinzao, right, is able to peel very aggressively, Fresh is self-explanatory, and then combine it with the Kennen, I do think that if T1 is allowed to actually get to the later stage of the game, you'll be in trouble. The biggest thing here for me is that T1 is making some really strong statements about their current meta read, because both Kennen and Jinx were picked up over a lot of the other conventional picks that we know are strong or have been highly prioritized, and we'll see whether it pays off. I'm happy to see Zeus play Kennen, and I do think it's well, it's one of his most iconic picks. I don't know if D+ fans will be happy about it, though.
Yeah, I mean, they do get their hands on the Cassante, which I think that nowadays is actually proving to be a really high-tier pick again. Even though it got nerfed, and then teams were like, oh, that got nerfed, that's not good anymore. Teams slowly but surely have returned to this pick that has some insane teamfight potential, and of course is very, very tanky. So kind of like the choice here for Kana as well. We'll see how it works into the Kennen, though, and the spacing of Zeus, which is something that we always have to mention with this player. As it looks like we're ready, guys, to hop onto the Rift for game number 1. Let's do it. DK versus T1. Pause. Actually, in Challengers, we recently had a rune issue.
Oh, no.
Yeah, on Tuesday. So, based on the timing of this pause, I feel like it could be the case. Although, looking at the runes, everything seems pretty normal.
Yeah, I'm not
It is a mouse sensitivity issue.
So
from Guma.
Hopefully will be fixed soon. So looking at the runes, actually we did get to take a look. I was really curious about what runes the Kennen was going to go for. We have seen a variety of different builds for the Kennen. 80 Kennen has slowly been creeping up. We've seen Conqueror Kennen going for a more long-term, like especially into tanks like Cassante, kind of 1v1 build with Riftmaker. But with Ahri, looking like Zeus is just going to go for the good old rocket belt into full AP, try and blow your opponents up cannon. One thing that I am somewhat worried about for the T1 composition, if we do get towards the later stages of the game, is that Deft is going to have a ton of agency, right? There is a large amount of short-range blow-up potential, but if Deft can space well in those fights and make the most of his Feather Storms and Blade Callers, I do think that without Gumayusi being fully online, T1 can definitely run into some issues if they overextend. Their single target pick, though, is really, really obnoxious between Charm, Hook, Zinzao, and even the CC that Zeus provides. Can follow up with Chompers as well. There is so many ways for T1 to take a single target and immediately blow them up. And if you take control of a game early on, which T1 generally have been able to do, it makes the game very hard to play out for D+, who have Kana, who's pretty good at you know, face-checking brushes and tanking some CC, but just a Cassante alone isn't going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Very curious about the bottom lane. Might just end up being, you know, a farm fest.
Could be, yeah.
Which, I mean, it's Zyra Khan into Jinx, so almost definitely the case, as slowly but surely our bottom lane meta once again returns to just a bit of a farm fest. It's been very active in the beginning of spring here for like the first 7 or 8 weeks, but I feel like now with the Jinx buffs, we'll probably return to a bit more of normalcy at the LCK.
It also ties into this game. We had 480 carry bans, right? And I wonder whether we're going to see that level of priority, and if we only get these kind of more low-key handshake type bot lanes, if we do keep seeing those bans, or if those bans are eventually going to kind of peter out. Team also really matters in that regard, because we already know how incredibly strong both of these two teams are with Lucianami, for example. A pick that in many other parts of the LCK, or a combo rather, that really has been dropping in priority due to the need to really try and be proactive, and some teams struggling with that a little bit more.
Top lane we really need to take a look at, as Zeus is 6-0 on Kennen. And Kennen has been picked, I believe, a couple of times already here at the LCK. And it's going to be interesting to see how it does do in the top side. Also, Xinjiao making his way for the first time this season, but not the first time, obviously, for Oner, as he is 15-3 on the pick.
Yeah, Xin is a pick that we really haven't seen for quite a while in the meta. It was all the rage last year, but there were a continuous set of nerfs, as we will spot Canyon here. Faker with some very early control being set up. And I'm kind of wondering about this Cassante pick, because we can already see that Zeus, as expected this early on, did go for Airy. Although not Scorch, went for Gathering Storm, but just with Airy and Cole this early on, he's still a big threat to Kana. And I think the Cassante might be more of a pick to try and neutralize the pressure in lane, but have a way of removing Zeus from late game situations. The Cassante ult into Cannon, I do think, should provide a high level of safety for Deft in later stage of the game, and maybe that's the main reason why D+ went for it, because the lane thus far not looking too odd. Canyon is going to maybe look for something here. We do see Zeus is aware.
She's got a nice angle, Kellen going in, but this is Zyra Khan. Very curious about the top side as well. I say that, but Oner is already down here in bottom lane, essentially, looking for a gank, as, speaking of which, Canyon looks like he is going to go for a back.
Oh, there we go.
Oh boy, here comes T1 once again. Setting up for a 4-man dive, potentially looking for the hook first. He is going to land it straight onto the Xayah, and down he goes. First blood handed over to Faker.
And that is a best case scenario, because we also get the teleport out from Showmaker, right? To try and salvage the play. That didn't end up working out. And now he still has to back, then has to walk back to mid. Great use of prioritization from Faker. And the top side, nothing happened, right? Zeus is fine. Was a Cannon who was full health against the Cassante with like 20-30%. So I think Canyon saw that and was like, there's no way I'm going to get anything done here. So the top side gank doesn't work out. Faker uses his window, and then you can see there kind of the setup from Oner as well. Starts charging up. But this might not have happened the way it did if not for that hook. Ice cold. Right, and as soon as that hits with the flash charm and the CC available from Xin, it's very, very straightforward, very easy.
Yeah.
And very nice early set play here from T1.
I think the setup, you know, a little bit confusing for Deft. There's like so many different ways to get hit by stuff, right? You've got Charm, you've got Xinjiao just straight up charging onto you, you have a hook, but to be honest, he's got to flash that hook. Yeah. The second like Keria starts charging up, he's got to be ready, and he's got to say, okay, I'm getting out of here. Now, there is a chance that he, you know, if we're giving him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he just tried to save it because he's like, okay, we're going to die anyway. Like, even if I flash, I'll probably just get chased down the lane, something like that. So if we are giving him the benefit of the doubt, perhaps you could look for that angle. But I think if he flashes the hook, especially based on the positioning at T1, he probably lives in that case. But now he'll have flash at least.
Yeah, at the very least, he...
caught in the cage, but Faker is Ahri, so he doesn't really care. As that is a Veigar with a Tear and Merc Treads. It's not going to be doing any damage.
No. Well, he does have Ignite, courtesy of Spellbound. So that helps a little bit, but not a lot. Oner is a little bit low. Showmaker's just farming up Oner.
Here we go again. Miss on the Sonic Wave as over the wall comes Faker, looking to go onto Canyon here, it looks like, as flash out of Canyon. But look at Showmaker. He is going to get the kill onto Oner, but the roam from the bottom lane comes in. That will be a kill, but Faker looking to go down here. The damage will turn in as Canyon is given over to Guma now, as a trade from the bottom lane is happening here in mid. And the chase will continue. Zap going to miss, as Kellen just going to hug the wall here and be able to get away.
Oh, you trade a little bit back there as D+, but you're not going to be happy with that because all the gold goes into the Jinx. We see the value of the Ghost come through, and look again, Keria here early on this roam. If they take Oner down a little bit faster, might be an angle here, and the reason why T1 feels so confident is because Guma and Keria have the prio. So Oner, unfortunately, oversteps. Could have maybe gotten out of there with usage of his flash, but because they know that they are a member up, T1 very happy to go in aggressively here. Gumayusi excited, so nothing to do for Deft and Kellen but try and disengage. And that's already a bounty on the Jinx, and if the Jinx falls really far behind, I think D+ has so many more avenues because it makes it really hard for T1, particularly if Deft can get some items, to get things done. But instead, Guma already has 2 kills, and bot lane is looking rough. Early Mountain Drake, really big as well.
That's going to be pretty nice as a rocket spots Canyon. I don't believe that was the initial idea behind it, as he was just trying to hit Deft, but it's going to keep him safe. Guma can just hug the turret. Currently he doesn't have any summoners. And yeah, this is a fantastic start here to the side of T1. They're already up 1,000 gold. They got that first streak. Top lane as well. Zeus is farming it out. He's going to have his call finished very early on, and will be a massive threat once we do have some team fights. Until then, though, that's, you know, top lane is the way it is nowadays, Chronicler.
Yeah, it's just top lane. Zeus feeling great though. She's been left alone here, been able to bully Kana, getting close to the call as well. Cash out for that is going to be big. Gonna give T1 an even larger gold lead than they already have, as even, you know, our best top laner sometimes misses a cannon. It happens to the best of us.
When you miss cannon and solo queue, just say, well, Zeus missed it that one time.
So, yeah. Well,
I'm just as good as him.
That's...
I mean, you can say it to yourself if you're alone and nobody hears you.
Yeah,
it's okay, and that's...
It's motivational.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, try and build yourself up. I like that.
Here comes Canyon, level 6, red buff, no flash, but could look for the angle anyway. So there's a ward here, knock up onto the cannon. And it doesn't look like they really want to get in there, so Canyon, you know, did help out in the fight in mid lane, but other than that, has kind of just been farming it out as Lee Sin.
Not been too many angles here, and the Veigar hasn't really made an impact on the map, which is to be expected, but the downside is that, again here, look, Faker roaming towards the bottom half, right? So D+ need to really respect, and even with respect, I don't know. We do see a lot of pressure come down here with Canyon in the area. They will still be safe, but Hana's gonna be forced to back here, which might mean Zeus is able to pick up a play. And this kind of problem is T1 is continuously pressuring, which makes it really hard for D+ to either retake control with vision and try and look for a play to somewhat equalize. They're just falling further and further behind as more plates go over. Look at that. That's a 1k gold lead in the top lane where nothing has happened. And that was with a counter pick. Like, Kana counter picked.
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned before, it's not going to be a counter for the lane.
No,
so
of course.
This is pretty much expected, although 1,000 gold is a lot this early on. The call certainly helping in that one. A nice pickup here for the cannon. As outside of that one fight, haven't had too much action since then, just kind of farming it out. We do have Cloud Drake on the way next, and pretty much any strong soul is going to be money for the side of T1 with 2 Drakes potentially under their belts.
Yeah, going to be really big here. If it is a weaker soul, then we'll see how T1 deals with that. Might still prioritize it just to get to Elder, as no Mythic Spikes hit yet here for Guma, even with the extra gold that he was able to get. He'll be up Berserker Greaves.
You know what's interesting? I feel like actually Chemtech Soul in this case is not that bad. like, it's not as good as some of the other ones, right? But I don't know, like the extra tenacity is going to be great against a lot of the picks on the side of DK, and even for DK on the side of T1. And I can see a lot of fights where people are getting low and having some extra damage in that case.
Yeah, can help a lot. And we try to make sure every trick is appreciated.
Yeah, you know, I just wanted to have this little moment for Chemtech Soul. He never gets to have his moments.
No, and we have a champion for Cloud Soul, obviously. So maybe you can be that.
No, you know, I think I'm just gonna have this one moment and call it a day. I don't think I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go overboard.
Yeah. I think, you know, that's it for me in Chemtech Soul. That was my one day. As Kana himself did miss a cannon, so maybe next time you miss a cannon, you can also say, I'm also as good as Kana. As he's really struggling here. This is not a very fun time, even under turret, just getting harassed. This Protobelt already finished for Zeus.
And again, we have the move towards the bottom half of the map here. Faker and Oner don't even need to actually go for a play, right? Just threatening by itself is enough to maybe get them some control. I think Showmaker will finish his Rod of Ages here. That is a big spike, but it's still going to be a fair amount of time before this Veigar is actually going to be able to substantially threaten people like Faker, Oner, and Zeus. Kraken done now as well for Gumayusi, so the second Drake might be very hard to fight for because the bot lane of D+ hasn't backed yet. That's a pretty big spike to be behind, although Canyon did pick up his Gore Drinker, and Showmaker also coming off a fresh base. I'm going to take control of the river here.
Yeah. Faker picking up Exhaust as the hook gonna land here onto the Rakan. Ignite in as they back away, and Kellen goes straight into a charm. As here is the Exhaust. Oner, though, has the Crescent Guard, but still, inside of it, is going to get taken out. Showmaker and depth extremely low, but Faker has to go into a stopwatch and will actually elect to flash in the face of 3 members of DK, who will, at the end of the day, win the fight.
And that's a big moment. That was the type of equalizing play you're looking for. Now, while that fight went very well, do also note that Guma was just in bot lane, farming up. And that is the reason why you see, when you look at the gold, hasn't actually changed that much. It's still a 2K lead for T1. D+ are trying to settle the Baron here. Showmaker will know now.
Yeah, TP coming in. Keria in a very awkward spot is just going to Hex Splash over the wall, say goodbye. I do not care about any of you. Zeus looking to get in there, but yeah, they're just disengaging. So T1, they just pick up the dragon anyway.
They still get the dragon. As hey, there we are.
Hey, nice.
Chemtech coming through.
Chemtech Soul, love it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go in too deep on that one, but this starts off with Kellen getting tagged and then kind of catching the rest of T1 off guard. And even though he goes down immediately and it looks like a big risk initially, I think Canyon gets exhausted there, but he doesn't really care. All he cares about is getting the kick, which allows Showmaker and Depth to take him down. And then here, T1 getting caught a little bit off guard by the power. Canyon, of course, very strong this early on in these type of skirmishes, and call was also pretty rapidly made to keep Guma towards the bottom of the map, which as a result led to him being fine, but T1 losing the skirmish. But then, because of Keria drawing attention and Showmaker being low, they still didn't lose the dragon.
Yeah.
Even after all that?
Somehow just able to teleport back in and make it work. Showmaker did hang on to his stopwatch, whereas Faker did have to use his in the last fight. If you ever had a question about what the best item in the game is, just look at Showmaker and Faker. Both picking that up either in runes or in general. As I think Faker had it in runes, but Showmaker not. I believe he actually purchased it. As Guma looking to take down first turret blood here, there isn't really much of a contest. He's actually even trying to deny this cannon, which he will be able to do. Very nicely done.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a gold toggle sometime soon, and I don't think the bot lane is going to look great. And
unless you're a T1 fan.
Unless you're a T1 fan. Yeah, it's not going to look great for the D+ bot lane. What I want to highlight is, as good as I think the D+ composition is, if Jinx isn't online, if Jinx is like, how are you actually going to kill Guma here? like, what are your ways? Because barring a great Cassante flank, Canyon or Kana taking Guma and literally shoving her into the rest of the team, maybe aided by Kellen, I think it's really hard. As now we just keep adding people to the list.
So now when you play your solo queue, you can say that you're on the same level as Showmaker. It's blue buff. It's,
very sad.
Yeah.
Sad moment for any mid laner.
Okay.
Knows that feeling.
Yeah, pretty rough. Top lane turret also going down. T1 already taking 2 turrets relatively early on in the game here.
Ooh, looks like Zeus might be going towards that fun new item that definitely wasn't in the game before, but has been added on the last patch.
According to every pro gamer, yes.
Yes. Cosmic Drive did gain a big change. It gives a ton of AP now, got 25 extra AP, while losing the health. But if you're Cannon, that extra AP is going to be feeling amazing, particularly with how easy it is to proc. As
nice little play from Faker. We all know that Faker kind of last year he was showcasing how to play Ahri. He's like, okay, guys, you're supposed to get really aggressive and look for proactive charms, okay? And everybody kind of followed suit, but Faker does it best, in my opinion. So very happy to see him on the Ahri once again. He's actually going to be going for Banshee's Veil second. Very defensive item builds here from Faker.
Yeah, I actually think that he goes Banshee so he can play more aggressive.
Yeah,
right. Like
sense.
try and use the spell shields to look for offensive hooks. Also into Veigar Cage, I think it does give you a ton more playmaking potential if you can negate that. Also as cleanse right now, so really going on that. One of the downsides of the T1 comp is that if they don't find a pick on one person, barring a flank, they can run into some issues as Canyon goes in.
Pretty confusing angle. See that Oner is right there, so Canyon just kind of kicks him away as over the wall they go. That's one way to catch the Jinx, as immediately Showmaker just presses R, and the gameplay is there. As the Crescent Guard not really going to help Oner, but the Lantern will. Very nicely placed, but absolutely a fantastic play here from the side of DK. The Showmaker will be fine. Has Merc Treads.
Ooh, really nicely done there by D+. They're able to get the turret, they're able to get the kill, and this brings the gold lead back to a more manageable 2K. It's Kellen that clearly catches them off guard. We have Zeus heading towards the top half of the map. Faker was on the back, so T1 not seeing this one coming, but in the end, Guma goes down. They lose the mid lane turret, which is definitely one of the more valuable ones, but I think they will still be able to contest for Drake, and these are the type of moments that D+ is going to have to keep looking for if they truly want to take back control. One more Drake. T1 is sitting on soul point here, and there you can see. I do think that finding these type of plays as D+ is extremely important, because otherwise T1 is just going to keep snowballing and snowballing. But it does mean that the flash is down for Kellen here. Gumayusi still has his for this up-and-coming play.
Look at the attention being shown to the Chemtech Drakes. Gotta love it. As I was saying before, you know, unironically, this is actually a decent amount of value to both teams. As let's see who does pick it up here. Oner, kind of in a awkward spot, and I think they're just going to give it away, as Oner, fortunately, going to get hit by the side of that cage, and DK just push on in and take it away forcefully.
Great zone control there by D+. The combination of Event Horizon and the Xayah Feathers can create kind of no-go zones where T1 isn't really able to walk up. So there, just Showmaker moving forward, and also good job there of them keeping track of Zeus, particularly with this map and the Mega Blast Cones. Like, Cannon can Mega Blast Cone right into your backline. He had Flash available and Rocket Belt, so that's not a combo that you can disregard. So well done there by D+. Get themselves the Dragon, and there it is, the Cosmic Drive done here now for Zeus. And thus far, very even game here, Valdez. Both teams seemingly evenly matched, although T1, as mentioned, once Guma gets to a third item, that is going to change some things. Jinx is one of the few AD carries that didn't really benefit from the changes to IE and Navori, just because of how her kit functions, how she really wants to get that that attack speed item, and also the scaling on her Q. So but once you do finish it, she's still insane.
Oh, gonna hit the hook here on the Kellen, as he's just got a target on his back right now, as looks like he might survive. Another hook comes in, as Keria just will not miss these today. depth with no Featherstorm is going to get Guma excited as he takes down the kill. A charm going to hit onto Canyon as T1 take a couple of kills and gets what's next. It's the T1 Baron.
And that is why you get excited when Keria locks in fresh. He hit most of his hooks, even pre-Q buffs when you went W max. As it turns out, with more hooks, Keria just keeps hitting him just as much. Yeah, and as anticlimactic as that might be what turns this game from a quite a close back and forth with sure T1 in the lead, but it not being insurmountable. Like the positioning here from Keria is such a it's a bait, right? Like it's looking like he's going for Canyon, and as a result, Kellen walks up too far, and then this hook on deft. Crucially, doesn't have his ultimate available, used it just there, and Guma with the flash picks that one up. Faker and Oner are ready to dive in.
Let's take a look.
라카 끌었거든?
I got Rakan. They had a ward over the wall, so I think they saw him run into the bush. Like it wasn't entirely blind.
자요. 차기만 하면 바로 갈 수 있거든? 바로 가자.
We can do Baron, and yep. Keria, as always, making the calls while hitting every hook. It's pretty good at this game. And now T1 doing what they do best. Snowballing their lead, getting the big objective, and pushing as many turrets and their gold lead as far as possible.
For D+, they still have that zone and I that we were talking about, but look how far Deft is behind the curve. This is a direct result of the early attention that T1 played to the bot side of the map, combined with Gumayusi getting kills early on, really makes the Xayah matchup extremely tough, as Lord Dom's now done for Guma. Interesting choice here. I was kind of expecting the eye to come through, but with this, he will kill everyone on D+ in a very short amount of time. So Kana also going to have less playmaking potential there, and we see D+ opting very heavily into the Merc threats here in an attempt to survive, even if you do get hooked, even if a charm does come through. But as we saw there, not working out too
He's just
much
going to get another hook in 5 seconds later.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and there's also, like, there's so much follow-up. So it becomes so hard to play out. 5k gold lead now. Baron buff still alive for a large amount of time here.
What? Probably not the Lantern to take into a cage.
No.
What's going on mid, guys? Kana's pushing bot, and they're like, you know what? They're going to take mid tower anyway. Let's just give it to them.
Yeah, if you have bounties, then maybe that works out. Could also be the call that they don't really have a way to try and take down Zeus, who is
he playing in this game? I don't know.
Zeus, well, he's zone denial.
Look
Okay,
at our top laners. 0-0-0. Nice.
Don't turn this into meta commentary of top lane. Okay, they're relevant. They took down turrets.
Zeus has not been in a single fight, and neither has.
Hey, he did roam, which got them the second dragon. Okay. He roamed bot, and his existence there was what...
He was standing there really menacingly, I agree, yeah. I wanted to see some placing Maelstroms. Like, I was really hyped when Kennen got picked, and now it's like, well... I just haven't seen him in this game yet. That's all I'm going to say is Kellen goes in, the Lantern is there on the Guma, but the cage is going to lock him down. And immediately he goes down, and Zeus is here now, but immediately Kana going to take him out. That's that counter pick you're seeing now, but the damage might just be too big. The wall is too heavy for the side of T1 as they're getting into that back line as deep as you possibly can. Kana not tanky enough. And guys, that's the end of the game. T1 just aced them in mid, and they will push for the victory.
That's gonna be it, and even with a perfect execution on Gumayusi there, doesn't have flash, can't get out, it doesn't matter. They escort Kennen out of the fight immediately, doesn't matter, right? The lead is too big, everyone on T1 is too fat, so even with taking down Gumayusi, it's not even close to enough. And D+.
Oh boy, insult to injury at this point as another hook, this time onto the Xayah. As down goes the Nexus, a 26